Okay, I want to make a video today talking about arbitraging, potential legal trouble, and not legal trouble for arbitraging because I don't care about arbitraging. I'm really concerned about people who could get hurt innocently. The other promoters are who I'm talking about. Other YouTubers and YouTube promoters are who I'm primarily talking about. And if you're not familiar with arbitraging, I'll recap that here in a moment. But let me just first apologize for making this video. I'm in the middle of a series right now. I'm putting together a whole playlist on my YouTube channel called the Crypto Passive Income Strategy, and I just recorded a video this morning called Add BTC Tutorial about earning free cryptocurrency and free Bitcoin with absolutely no risk at all. And I'll put that video, I'll link it up in the card above. But I just put that out this morning, and I've been talking about my CryptoTab browser and how I've gotten referrals, and I'm going through a whole series teaching how to earn cryptocurrency risk-free with no investment, and how to potentially earn a lot of cryptocurrency. And so I'm breaking down my entire strategy, the entire system of what I'm doing right now on this channel. So, and I know some of you have been following these videos, and I appreciate you commenting, but we're going to take a detour for a moment. By the way, if you haven't been following me, you can go ahead and take a look in the description. I'll put a link to that playlist. Also, there'll be a link to the playlist at the end of this video as well. But I keep seeing this come up again and again, and I don't typically like to take a negative tone at all about anything. I rarely talk negative directly about any platform. I don't call people out. That's just not my style. It's not what I do. And I could always be wrong, so I don't like getting into the attacking personal attacks that I see people do sometimes, or attacking one program or one cryptocurrency. Overall, sorry if you're hearing a little bit of wind there. I'm actually outside in San Diego. It is gorgeous here. It is sunny. It is beautiful. I'm here for a business conference, but it is incredible here. But it's very noisy inside the hotel. My room's not ready, so I thought, you know what? I'll just make a quick video because this has been on my mind. Let's just get right into it. If you want to watch the playlist, you can subscribe to my channel, or you can click on the full playlist down below this video in the description. But let's get right into. So I think there are people carrying a lot of potential legal trouble or legal risk, and they don't realize it. People that are promoting arbitraging. Now, that being said, don't assume that I'm saying arbitraging is not real. I do have my suspicions that there are problems with this platform. Absolutely have my suspicions. And those suspicions I can explain very clearly. But even if arbitraging is doing everything they're saying, as a promoter, it's important for you to understand that you still carry some real potential risk, life-altering financial risk, and in a few cases, even potentially jail time. So I don't think you would get jail time unless it was outright, seemed to be a Ponzi scheme or something like that. And I'm not saying that it is, but I'm saying that you carry some potential life-altering financial risk, and you may not even be aware of it as a promoter. Now, let me just tell you, you're talking to someone that has had to defend themselves against legal liability and litigation before. So, I'm familiar with how you can innocently be found guilty in some cases. Now, thankfully, I've never been found guilty, but that's, I've been at a risk for that. So, and I'm going to show you that in this video just so you're aware. Now, I'm not going to tell you not to promote arbitraging. I'm not telling you not to make videos on it. I'm not telling you not to talk about it if you believe in it. But I do hope that you'll at least be aware of your liabilities that you may be carrying, and you'll make decisions understanding that, I guess is the best way of saying it. Now, if you're not familiar with what arbitraging is, essentially it's a platform, it's a cryptocurrency that is gaining steam, by the way. $8.04 right now at the time of this video. That's not surprising. I suspect this will go up, and I suspect it will go up a lot. And that's part of the risk, by the way, is that the token's going to go up. That's a huge risk for promoters. And I'll explain that again. Just give me a moment. But just recap, what is arbitraging? And again, I apologize. Now I feel the breeze. I promise you there wasn't a breeze when I started making this video. Hang on just one moment. Okay, I've changed location, so hopefully this is a little bit better. and there'll be less breeze or less wind. But let me just recap this real quick. Again, I'm not telling you not to promote. Anything that you do in life, there's always risk associated with it. But it's important that you understand what your risk is and that you're aware of your risk. The saddest thing that I've seen is people who unintentionally took risk. And I'll share a story with you a little later in this video with a gentleman who was a very successful entrepreneur, and he ended up in a lot of hot water, and it was not all his fault. And I'll share that with you a little bit later in this video. But just for a recap, arbitraging is a cryptocurrency on a blockchain that basically they're supposed to be arbitraging the cryptocurrency market, although I don't know if anyone knows exactly how they're doing it. They have an automatic bot that's supposed to be doing it. So you buy arbitraging tokens. They're locked up in the bot. The bot is supposed to be doing arbitraging trading. You can see volumes. They show you that. And there's other YouTubers that have shown that before. Daily volumes, and people are earning like 0.7, 0.8%. I think as high as 1.1% a day in some cases. And it's just growing, and it's profitable, it's paying. I don't think they've ever missed a payout. I don't think at this point anyone's ever not gotten their money, which again actually puts you at greater risk in the long run as a promoter. There's an MBOT. I don't think the MBOT's actually been out yet. For whatever reason, they're having trouble launching it. I don't think it's being sold or utilized on a mass scale. At least I could be wrong on that, but that's my knowledge. But here's the problem. Here's my concern with arbitrage is that there's no actual published proof of any kind, and there's all these really good reasons why there's not. They don't want to give up trade secrets and this and that, and all that's fine and dandy, and it doesn't actually matter as much unless it ends up being a scam. Unless it does end up being a Ponzi scheme. And you're not going to know it until the end comes. But unfortunately, there's a lot of promoters that are taking risk. And I'm going to cover the three types of promoters. There's three main types of promoters out there. And a lot of promoters are just taking risks that they're not aware of. So let's just move into this real quick. Three types of ARB promoters. And really, I say ARB here because that's what I'm talking about, because I'm in this space. Listen, I love cryptocurrencies. I love these projects. I promote these projects, and I'm also aware of risk that I carry promoting projects. But I choose to promote because I want to see these projects take off. I've promoted a lot of projects that I didn't actually make any money off of outside of, gaining views, and like I didn't earn anything directly from the project developers. I didn't even earn affiliates. I mean, I've promoted projects just for the sake of the projects because I believed in them. Sorry, there's a helicopter going overhead. However, even as a promoter and as a entrepreneur, I know that there are potential risks that are out there, and you just got to be aware of that. So, first things first. I think the first type of promoter is the full believer. These are people who fully believe in the projects. They believe in the if it ends up going down as a scam, they are caught 100% off guard. There are people, I have no doubt there are YouTube promoters who literally believe that arbitraging is nothing but 100% real. They believe in the CEO. They believe in what's going on. They've seen just enough evidence, even though there's no published trades, there's no hard, concrete fact or proof. If anyone ever came to you today and put a gun to your head and said, prove to me there's an ARB, you couldn't do it. But they believe the reasonings for why that proof is not available. They choose to believe the daily volume they're seeing, and they are full believers in this space. And this type of person is typically this is their very first, in many cases their first or their second time being involved in a project like this in the cryptocurrency space, and they put in a little bit of money. They saw they were getting paid, and that was really and truly money talks. People will throw all caution to the wind for a short-term gain, not thinking about potential longer-term risk that can be far more detrimental. And the full believers, I mean, these are people that passionately believe in this thing. They're getting their mom in, their dad in, their brother, their niece, their uncle, their nephew. They believe in it. They think it's changing the world. And I mean, they quit their jobs. They're supporting themselves on this. They fully believe it. And this is the saddest case because these people, in my opinion, I don't agree with the fact that everybody should. Let me back up and say this. As I'm talking about this, I'm going to talk to you about legal exposure from my experience and what I've learned, my own experience, my own research, but I don't necessarily agree with it. Like, I think that sometimes the only difference between someone who's considered a victim in the eyes of the law and someone who's considered legally liable, the only difference is one got in sooner. That's important for you to understand. Sometimes that's the only difference, and I'll cover that in this video. But the full believer, they're promoting this thing. They're too trusting. They trust people. They trust, an individual seems likable. They want to like them. They want to believe what they're saying. And they're not, here's the thing. Sometimes they're not logically looking at things. Like, I'll tell you this right now. Even if ARB is 100% legitimate and they're running a top secret, spectacular arbitraging software bot behind the scenes, if they're doing that, and it's 100%, here's what you need to know. You need to understand how arbitraging works. There comes a point in time when the bot will never be as effective as it is today, because, I'll show you, at some point, the market capitalization inside the bot, inside the program, gets so big that the arbitraging opportunities slow down. And sometimes they can even cease to exist. So if the bot is fully operational today, what it will, and it does work. And by the way, you have to understand, there has never been the arbitraging bots and trading bots are real. And some of them have been extremely successful. Some of them have been used by hedge funds and Wall Street money managers in the past. However, none of them have lasted. I think the longest one was an option trading bot, and I think that thing lasted like 4 or 5 years. That was it. Maybe 6. I'd have to go look it up. It was based off the Black-Scholes method or whatever. That thing didn't last all that long, and it wasn't truly I don't think that was truly a bot in every sense of the word, but it didn't last. Eventually blew up. Now, if it's an arbitraging bot, it shouldn't blow up, but it's going to stop being able to make profit, and it may lose a little bit of money. So there's no such thing as consistent profit indefinitely. Unfortunately, most promoters know this, except for the full believers. Full believers believe that whatever's most recently happened will continue to happen, and that's true. There's something called recency bias, and recency bias says whatever my most recent experience is what I believe is my truth for the future. And most of us operate. That's human psychology. That's kind of how we operate. I believe the full believers are at most risk because these are the people that will take money out on the mortgage and just dump it in because they just believe so strongly in it, and it's just such a sure thing, and it's just paying so well. And if it's paying 1% or 0.5%, it doesn't take long to get your money out. That's how they'll rationalize it, and they'll just take crazy risks because they believe so strongly in it. And they're actually pretty dangerous promoters too, because when new people hear them talk, their conviction is so sincere and so genuine because they just believe it. They're subject to clawback. Now, this is the thing that most promoters are 100% ignorant to. I told you earlier, the single biggest difference in any Ponzi scheme, whether it was Bernie Madoff, whether it was Sanford, I can't remember the guy named Sanford that ran a Ponzi scheme down in, I think it was Barbados or whatever. In any Ponzi scheme, there are oftentimes winners and losers. Winners are people who basically got in early, got their money back. Losers never actually got their money back. In both cases, you don't even have to be a promoter. That's important for you to understand to be subject to clawback. There was a company that went down, a program that went down about 5 years ago called Zeek Rewards. Zeek Rewards supposedly was paying out a profit sharing in their company. They were a penny auction site. They were paying out a profit sharing, and the way that worked was you got a 1%, supposedly a 1% return on the money that you spent with the company buying their product. You got like a 1% return, and the idea was they were trying to reward their early customers, and you got a 1% return. It was supposed to be coming out of company profits. Now, if you understand I don't have time to explain to you how penny auctions work, but they're insanely profitable. But they can't pay out 1% indefinitely. No company can grow 1% forever. So what ends up happening, by the way, what oftentimes happens is people don't have to lose money to start complaining, and they can start complaining to federal regulators and everything else. A lot of times, people just have to start getting less money. When people get the problem with when a scheme runs for a long time is people start to depend on it like it's a paycheck. So if someone's earning, let's just use 1% because it's a round number. In the case of Zeek Rewards, nothing happened to the company. Like, they didn't stop paying. They just got shut down by regulators. But what happened? Why did they get shut down by regulators? Well, they started getting complaints. And if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong, but I think the complaints stemmed because they started paying a little less than 1%. And they said for months that they were going to have to pay less than 1%. I paid attention to that thing because I thought I had someone approach me. I thought, you have no idea, this thing's going to go down in flames. No company can grow 1% forever. That's crazy. But it is what it is. So I continue to follow it. And I had some close friends, professional people that should have known better. Like, I mean, I know of more than one millionaire that meaning $1 million business. I don't know if their net worth was $1 millionaire, but I know they had $1 million business. One guy was a massive landscaper up in Ohio. I mean, the guy who does spectacular resort-style pools for these mansions and stuff. I mean, the guy does incredible work. He's literally a landscape/pool architect. The guy's incredible. And when he came to me, I thought, Lord have mercy. Absolutely everybody's finding out about this. But in Zeek Rewards, what happened was they started slowing down payments, and people got fishy about that. They got funny. They were like, well, what's going on? I thought we were getting 1%. And they literally filed complaints with the SEC. I think it was the SEC that got involved first, or maybe it was the FBI one. I can't remember which. But the company ended up getting shut down, and they got shut down, and at the time they had not even missed a payment. But they come in and they couldn't provide the documentation that was needed, and that's when they actually got shut down. So this is what clawback is. Clawback is typically when a company goes under like that, things are turned over to judges and receiverships, and the whole goal is for them to recover as much money as possible to try to make the victims whole again. A victim is usually classified as anyone who lost money, which means if you made money, then they can claw back any money that you made. So if you made $100,000, it doesn't matter if you don't have it in your bank account because you spent it to pay bills or pay down the mortgage. You can still be legally liable. All you have to do is research clawback and Ponzi schemes in the past. Like, this is a real thing that happens, and I can't remember if it happened in Zeek Rewards. I know that I do know that it was talked about when it went down on some of the legal websites and stuff that I was reading about. They were talking about. I don't know whatever actually happened with that, and I'm certain that it's still going on. But clawback means that if you made profit, you are responsible for paying that profit back. And by the way, it's not necessarily equal to the amount of profit that you made. I want you to understand that. Sometimes they have strange calculations on how they figure that out. But just because you profited $110,000, you don't owe $110,000. You may owe $250,000 back. And I can't tell you exactly how to do that. But just know that that is a real risk. In a few cases, people can see jail time. I think that's far less likely. And it really depends, by the way, on what happens. The first thing there's two types of lawsuits that occur. Or two types of legal trouble. One is civil, and this is where one person sues another. This is where, someone got in this case, let's say they get into ARB, and let's just say the ARB ends up being a Ponzi scheme. They say, hey, I got in because I saw your video. That's a civil lawsuit. Now, and the civil lawsuits mean you're going to have to defend yourself. You can be innocent, by the way. You can be a victim yourself. If you're a full believer in a civil lawsuit, and you can kind of show that you're a full believer, and you got a good lawyer who can prove that you were just naive and ignorant, like, you probably will have limited, legal problems, I would assume. However, you're still going to have to pay something financially, and you're still going to have to spend the money, and it's going to disrupt your life just to defend yourself in a civil lawsuit. Now, if you ever get named in a federal lawsuit, that's going to suck. The way that works is you're going to have to defend yourself, but you're not going to have any money to do it. Anytime you get sued by the federal government in these types of situations, what they do is they freeze your assets, literally. So they expect you to hire a lawyer. Yes, it's not fair. Yes, I think this is ridiculous. No, I don't agree with this. I think it's horrible. The government doesn't fight fair, and any lawyer you talk to that has experience with this will tell you, yes, the government does not fight fair. So you're basically unarmed, and you're destined to typically lose the case, because what they're going to do is they're going to freeze your assets, and then they're going to basically sue you, if you will. So I don't think full believers typically have to worry about getting caught up by the government. They're typically seen as a form of a victim, but they're never classified as victims if they make profits, just so you know. And they are subject to clawback. Now, wishful hopefuls. So these are people and this is where I think the majority of our promoters are. Listen, logically, if you've been in the crypto space for a while, we've already seen a lot of scams. We've seen the BitConnects, and there's others. I mean, you've seen high-yield investment programs out there. And by the way, if you know what a high-yield investment program is, a lot of people who play with those see it as gambling, and they're not even wishful hopefuls. Well, but they have the same strategy as someone who's a wishful hopeful. A wishful hopeful is wishing that this could be real, and they're really hoping that it is. They know that there's no proof that it is real, and they know that there's no proof that it isn't. Look, I did not really publicly promote BitConnect, but I saw BitConnect, and it was literally exactly like arbitraging. I knew algorithm trading was real. I knew that they could show daily volumes, and I absolutely put money in BitConnect, and I don't know exactly without looking at, I broke even or made a small profit. It wasn't much of a profit. Right when it started to get exciting, BitConnect went down. But I was a wishful hopeful with BitConnect, and what I mean by that is I saw enough evidence, like some people are doing with arbitrage. I saw enough evidence that I thought this could be real. Wow. And it took me a long time to get in. And I fell victim to recency bias as well. So please understand, I'm not throwing stones here. I'm not throwing stones at all. I get how we can fall victim to this. And the emotions that play involved, and probably a little bit of greed, a little bit of fear of missing out. It's a little bit of everything. And it's like, how can this be fake? I mean, we see the CEO and he's on stage and blah, 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 but just keep in mind, Bernie Madoff is a very public figure too. So I always get tripped out, when people are like, you can trust him, he's a nice guy. And I'm like, that just because you know who the guy is, just because you can put a face to a project, just because he's nice, just because he could be well spoken, doesn't mean that it's legitimate. I mean, keep that in mind. Wishful hopefuls oftentimes have been scammed before, and they're looking for a big win. Some of these guys have lost again and again and again, and they're like, they want something to work, and they keep they're looking for that big win. It really is a form of gambling. They hope that this is the one. Look, they keep looking for new evidence that this has to be it. This is it. This is it. For example, they may say, hey, we didn't know who's behind BitConnect, but we know who's behind arbitrage. This is it. This makes sense. So they'll use evidence like that, for example, and say, therefore that's going to give them extra hope to believe this time. Usually they plan to get in early, profit quick, and then want to play with house money. That tends to be the idea. This is what I was talking about, high-yield investment programs. This is what guys do. These are so the strategy is, hey, let me just jump in, let me get my money back, and then maybe I'll pull some out and keep some in. That's a good strategy in the investing world anyway, especially anytime you're investing in something that's speculative. But if you're doing that in a scam, then if you're doing it in something that ends up being a scam, then you've got some legal trouble. So there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I'm going to put my money in, then I'm going to pull out profits, and then I'm going to, maybe grow once I'm playing with house money a little bit, I'll let that money stay in there and grow a little bit, then I'll pull out some more profits, and the idea is you consistently pull out profits over time. Wishful hopefuls think in the back of their head, even if it goes down, I'm still going to profit. And so they're thinking about themselves, and they're using a smart strategy to hedge themselves, but they don't understand the risk that is involved, that they're putting themselves in. And they're getting on YouTube every day, sometimes pretending to be full believers. But in the back of their mind, they got a little bit of doubt. They just don't want to admit it because they're hopeful that this thing is real. And they want to make their money. They want it to keep going. And it's that sort of mentality that ultimately can get you in trouble. So just be mindful. They're ignorant to their legal exposure. Totally. Listen to me. Even when I thought BitConnect might be real, even when I was hopeful, I don't know if I ever put a public affiliate link out there. If I did, maybe I did once or twice, but I just did not do it because I wanted to make certain that people knew what they were getting into. And the only people that I ever even told about BitConnect, I think I had 2 or 3 close friends, and we had a heart-to-heart discussion. I was like, look, I don't know if this thing's real, but I don't know that it's not real. I mean, I don't know. And by the way, today there's actually no proof that BitConnect wasn't real outside of the actions and the way they reacted when they got some heat from the SEC. And Arbitrage hasn't even experienced that yet. If Arbitrage gets heat from the SEC, they keep going and they fight back, that will be the day that that's when it's going to be like, wow, okay, that's impressive. They really believe in what they're doing. It doesn't mean that you don't carry risk if they're found guilty for anything, by the way. And we don't have to agree with the federal government. It just is. So you have to understand that. We don't have to agree with laws and penalties. They just are. I don't agree with the way innocent people who unintentionally get caught up in some of this stuff is treated sometimes in these cases. And you can read about it. I mean, it's unbelievable, but it is what it is. So let's talk about their legal exposure. They are obviously subject to clawback, and they're at greater exposure to legal trouble. And that's because a lot of times these individuals, if they're promoters and they're public, they've probably mentioned somewhere along the way that they didn't know if it was legitimate or not. Some of these, there's YouTube channels out there where people are like, listen, just, here's my strategy. I'm just going to put money in. I'm going to withdraw my capital, and then I'm going to play with house money. There are people who actually said that publicly. Listen, when you do that, you are admitting that you think in the eyes of the law, it can look like that you recognize this might not be legitimate. So a lot of times there's clues in what these people are saying publicly, and that puts them in a lot more greater risk. It's harder for them to defend themselves saying they were totally ignorant. By the way, ignorance isn't really a defense, just so you know. Ignorance, like full believers, ignorance is not a defense. Ignorance is no excuse for the law, just so you know. But when you don't even have the ignorance defense because of statements that you've made publicly, then that does put you at a little greater risk. Now, accidental accomplice. This is the most dangerous person. These are people who take payment outside of the affiliate program. If you take payment, next we're going to be talking about factors that could increase legal trouble. Wait till we get to this section. But if you take payment outside of the affiliate program, then according to the law, in some cases, you are seen, that's a typo, you are seen as guilty as the program developer. And here's why. In some cases, the program developer could not have perpetrated the scam on his own. It required promoters. So if you got paid outside of the typical comp plan, you got additional compensation of any kind, that is, you are seen as an accomplice. I'm calling it the accidental accomplice. I mean, you're oftentimes seen as guilty, if not more guilty, than the actual perpetrator of the crime. So if ARB, for example, and it's an if, nothing's been proven. I'm not saying, I am saying I've got concerns, but I'm not saying that it's a scam outright because there's no proof of that. But if it ends up being a scam and you got paid any extra money, whether it was through ARB tokens or outright cash or in Bitcoin, it doesn't matter. If you got paid extra, then that is a problem. I mean, you've got mega exposure. And I mean, that's a problem. Now, factors that could increase your legal trouble, obviously this one. Anyone losing money from your promotion. Okay. This means that it doesn't even have to be a scam for someone to lose money. If the A-bot all of a sudden malfunctions, if someone hacks the A-bot, and please keep in mind, I don't have to agree with this. You just need to understand that if someone says, I got into the A-bot, I put $10,000 in there, and it grew to $150,000, and this guy, Crypto John Smith, I hope that's not a real YouTuber, but Crypto John Smith on YouTube told me about it. All they have to do is they can file a lawsuit against you. Even if you had no control over the ABOT, even if you had no control over the exchange, you can get sued because you're the one that you carry legal liability. It doesn't mean they might not sue Arbitrage. It doesn't mean they might not sue the David Peterson. It doesn't mean they might not sue some developer that we don't even know about that was responsible for actually programming the Arbitrage bot. It doesn't mean when you can get sued for anything, and you can be sued for damages. If a judge or a jury says, yeah, you weren't the primary person responsible, but yeah, you carried some weight in this. Sorry about that. You could potentially get sued. However, even if you didn't get sued, you're still going to have to defend yourself in court. So just, be mindful of that. And this is one of those things that you can promote anything. Listen, disclaimers and disclosures are a defense sometimes, but they don't defend you 100%. There's investment newsletters out there and money management programs out there, and they all have disclaimers. You have to sign legal documents. You have to be accredited investors, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But if the stock market tanks, people sue money managers all the time. I do not think that should be allowed. If the money manager knowingly didn't do anything any different than his strategy, I don't think you should be allowed to sue the guy. But they do it all the time, and it costs people real money. That is a real thing. It is real liability. Don't think, and even if you are naive and you're like, yeah, but I didn't do anything wrong, you still are going to have to spend money to defend yourself in court. You carry legal liability. Keep that in mind. Anytime you're public with anything, and I'm not saying this to scare you, but this space, there's so much going on in this space. I love the cryptocurrency space. People need to be more wise about what they're saying, what they're doing, what they're promoting, and they need to understand that there are real risks involved. You're at greater risk if you have an unrealized profit. So there's a YouTuber out there I heard a while back. He said he was talking about BitConnect. He's a former BitConnect guy. He promoted it heavily and blah, blah, blah. He promoted it. Supposedly, he made a lot of money, but he says he lost a lot of money. And what he's talking about is unrealized profit. He never pulled profits out of the platform, so he's saying he lost money. It doesn't matter. You're still seen as someone who profited from the platform. It was your choice not to pull it out. You are still at much greater risk than the guy who put in $100,000 and lost it. So again, I don't agree necessarily with that. I still see you as a victim. But if you made an unrealized profit and you chose not to pull it out, many times you're still seen to carry a little more liability. You're still at greater risk. If you realize the profit. So if you actually pulled the money out, so you pulled the money out and you profited, and you were able to, so to speak, cash out, then you definitely carry more risk. And again, everybody's goal is to cash out. People made money on BitConnect, and not everybody, and BitConnect is one of the most recent ones in the crypto space, one of the most recent big ones. There's a million active scams right now. There's these Bitcoin generators and blah, blah, blah. There's a million active scams going on right now. But BitConnect was the last big one. So and there's plenty of people who made money that did not get sued or named in a lawsuit, whatever. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of people, they're aware of that. But you just need to know that life doesn't have to be fair. Just because your neighbor's not sued and you are, just because the federal government names you in a lawsuit but they don't name your neighbor doesn't have any problems if he didn't get named, and you can't use your neighbor as your defense. Yeah, but he didn't get in trouble and he did worse than I did. That doesn't work. If you're named, you're screwed. There's a couple of small YouTubers that nobody knows about that got named. And the only reason I know that is because their YouTube channels totally disappeared. And I'll bet you dollars to donuts they got named in a lawsuit. Otherwise, they would not have given up a YouTube following the way that they did and just totally disappeared. If you have a track record of consistently promoting programs that end up being scams, this is going to put you at greater risk. They're going to assume that you should be more knowledgeable in this space, and you're going to be seen as a scam promoter. So, and this, by the way, has been seen before in penny stocks that ends up being pumps and dumps. There's companies out there that make money promoting penny stocks, and they don't know anything about the actual companies. They get paid a promotion fee. They talk about it. The stocks go up. The stocks go down. They might actually, some of these companies actually promote it. They'll buy the stock. They'll put out promotional PR pieces, and then when the stock goes up, they'll sell. Now, that's obviously an outright, they absolutely carry legal liability and should get sued in those situations. But some of these companies are just paid promotional companies. And if your entire business was just running promotion for small penny stocks, and many of these penny stocks ended up just being a bunch of pump and dump scams, and that can be proven in a court of law, how's that going to look? You just have to ask yourself, does that make me look more guilty? That's all you have to ask yourself. You're getting paid to promote. This goes without saying. If something ends up being a scam and you've got any compensation for promoting the scam, you carry some liability. And this is the biggest one here. You're getting paid extra. You get additional compensation outside of the quote-unquote affiliate program. And if it's secret, like you got this little kickback that nobody knows about, and it ends up being a scam, you are seen as culpable. So you carry a tremendous amount of risk in that case. Now, it gets crazy here because there are plenty of projects that pay people to promote them. But if you promote something that ends up being a scam, then that's where the problem comes in. So you just got to be careful what you promote, what you put your name to that's out there. And again, just because, I'm not saying that, here, let me just wrap it up with this. Be mindful. I'm not saying this to that like you should never promote cryptocurrency. You should never. No. Are you ever going to be able to promote anything and be risk-free of any damages ever? Let me tell you, if you're successful as a promoter, you're successful as a YouTuber, you can promote Bitcoin, and if people lose Bitcoin, I promise you, some of the largest Bitcoin promoters probably have already been sued and you don't even know it. Now, they're probably fighting the lawsuits and they're probably winning the lawsuits. That's why you still see them, posting videos every day. I'm talking about the guys that's got like 100,000+ subscribers. Some of those guys might have already been named in lawsuits. Businesses fight lawsuits all the time and you never know about it, okay? So just keep that in mind. If they can find an attorney and that attorney, here's the problem with lawsuits. It costs attorneys very little time or money to file a lawsuit, but they make a lot of money for very little effort put in a lot of cases because things are settled out of court or, people are found guilty for small amounts, and lawyers make 20 grand, 30 grand, 100 grand, 300 grand just by earning 1/3% of whatever's recovered in the form of damages. So there are plenty of people. We live in a sue-happy culture. There are civil penalties. Now, you're not going to be – if Bitcoin crashes and you promoted Bitcoin, the federal government's not coming after you for that. You've got to actually be doing something be promoting something that ends up being a legitimate, scam, so to speak, that puts you at risk. And there's scales of risk, right? So you can promote stuff and never earn money from promoting it directly, and you're going to be at far, far, far less risk. But if you're one of these people out there that you're only promoting when you're getting paid, it's obvious you're getting paid to promote, and people know that after a while. Listen, if you go on record saying something's a scam, I'm going to go ahead and put this out there. If you go on record saying something's a scam and it's known that you got paid and then you change your tune and said it's not a scam, well, if it ends up being a scam, you are 100% carrying massive liability and are probably going to get nailed to the wall legally. And that goes on record, and YouTube's remembered forever, et cetera, et cetera. So just be mindful what you're promoting out there as a YouTuber, and be mindful, those of you that are following YouTubers, just know that some of these people, none of us are like cryptocurrency experts. On my channel, my disclaimer says just consider this sheer entertainment. I don't try to purport financial advice, but that doesn't negate the fact that you could still be carrying some legal liability. Listen, we've got to self-police ourselves. We've got to do a better job of keeping this space clean and clear. I love the cryptocurrency space, and I love the YouTubers. I spend so much time on YouTube watching videos of other cryptocurrency people and projects being promoted. That's how you find out about projects. That's how you find out what's going on. I've put videos on my channel of the top 10 YouTubers And I love following these people, and I love when there's new videos out. And some of these people, every now and again, if I have a down day on a Saturday and not a whole lot's going on, I watch all the videos and I'm like, man, can't someone go make a YouTube video so I can go watch it? Heck, part of the reason I started a YouTube channel is so I could, go make videos and talk about content, especially when there's not, anyone else that I want to follow or watch their content. So that was part of me wanting to start a YouTube channel. So just be mindful, enjoy the space, have fun with it. Be careful what you're promoting, and be careful what's going on out there. I love all of you guys. This is an incredible journey that we're a part of. We are on a brand new frontier. I mean, this is, in my opinion, this is better than space exploration. And the reason it's better than space exploration is because it's going to affect all of our daily lives far greater than space exploration ever will. We're like the pioneers of the internet. I don't mean like the first users of the internet. I mean, we're like the guys, in the dorm rooms, not the dorm rooms, but in the laboratories and in the whatever, in the Navy there. I think that the internet was first created as part of a project with the Navy, if I remember right. We're like the guys that are using it before anyone ever even realizes it, because most people are still oblivious. They've heard of Bitcoin, but they ain't got a flipping clue what it's about. They haven't got a clue about the projects behind this space. Time is Crypto said something in a video today that I loved. He said, it's more than about the money side. We're going to make a lot of money in this space because the technology, I believe, is going to prove to be fruitful. But we're going to make money because of the technology. We're not making money just because we're speculating. It's because ultimately this entire space goes to the moon with worldwide mass adoption at some point in the future. Who knows when that's going to happen? But let's enjoy the ride. Have an awesome day. Thank you so much for watching this video. And I'm going to get back my next videos. I'm going to be talking about my crypto passive income strategy. And you can go ahead, and if you haven't watched that series yet, you can go ahead. I'll put it into this video. You can go ahead and watch it and get caught up. I think there's about 6 videos in the series so far, and I have no idea how many videos are going to be, but I'm going to cover every flipping detail that I can on how I'm earning passive income in the cryptocurrency space. And some of them are no risk, some of them are low risk, and some of them you just have to manage and diversify risk. Thank you so much for watching. Have an awesome day.